class we completed the poem Mending, a poem written by Robert Frost, an American poet. See, this poem discusses the twin virtues, namely fraternity and tolerance. Actually, this poem is framed on this style of argument and counter argument by the poet and his neighbor. Poet disapproves of having a wall which separates his property from that of his neighbor's property, whereas his neighbor sticks to this thought that good fences make good neighbors. I hope you understood. These two speakers' viewpoints that we can see through this poem. Thereby, the poet wanted to communicate certain principles and qualities which are essential for maintaining social fabric of relationship. I think you all completed this activity that actually I gave you in the last class, 5 questions. From this first question, let us recall the points. First one, look at your textbook. See, you all have your own language, but for the time being, I am giving you some sample answers. Just you can read it, and if you want, you can include some points discussed in this sample answer, or you can have your own way. Okay, we only want to develop or enrich our language or vocabulary. Okay, some vocabularies you can make use of. That is the purpose of giving this sample note. Okay, so just you go through all these questions once again. First one. First question. Why does the poet say that there is something that doesn't allow a war? So, answer is, just you read. The speaker of the poem says so because he has experienced that something is there that causes the cold ground under the wall to swell and burst. The ground bursts in a way that the boulders come spitting out from within to the outside automatically. This something is the unseen force of nature. According to the speaker, the nature breaks the wall because it doesn't like it to stay there. Okay? Then, second one, why does the poet meet his neighbor beyond the hill at spring? Answer is, the poet meets his neighbor beyond the hill at spring because he was looking forward to meeting his neighbor to break his isolation and to make friendship with him. Okay? Then, third question, how do the poet and his neighbor mend the gaps in the wall? Answer is, the author and his neighbor try hard to balance the broken wall. They make use of stones and repair it. Meanwhile, handling the stones, they even injure their fingers. Okay? Then, next question. Why does the poet argue that there is no need of a wall in between his estate and that of his neighbor? Okay, answer is, the speaker points out that they have adjoining fields that will not affect the other's crop because there are only pine trees and apple trees in his estate, in his neighbor's estate. And cows can do no harm. In fact, the world could be an insult to their friendship as neighbors. Okay, then last question. How does the neighbor justify the need for walls or fences? Answer is the neighbor justifies the need for walls or fences, saying that good fences make good neighbors. This is perhaps the most important line of the poem and is repeated at the end of the poem. The neighbor here states that there is a moral principle behind mending the walls. There seems to be a contradiction within this principle. The neighbor believes that separation is the best means for the neighbors to get on. It's like saying they should keep their distance so they can be good neighbors. This type of relationship is based on respect rather than friendship. Okay, so all these questions just we discussed its answers only for you to have more ideas, and it will help you to generate your feelings or to reflect your thoughts based on
Now
this
let's
poem.
move to
Okay.
the second part of the poem. Here the second stanza begins with these lines. Look at your textbook. We will read. See, spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors, isn't it? Well, there are cows, but here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I would ask to know what I was walling in or walling out. Actually, this spring is the mischief in me. Now, just you think last time in the above stanza, there was a line. I hope you just see your textbook. See, at spring mending time, but at spring mending time we find them there, right? So, spring mending time. See, spring mending time means in springtime. Okay, they both the poet and his neighbor meet each other. For what purpose? For repairing this world. Okay, so for them spring is the mending time. Now spring is the mischief in me. Here this stanza begins with this line: spring is the mischief in me. This is very important because sometimes there was actually this question. Yeah, we got this item in some questions, right? See, spring is the mischief in me. Why? You have to speak. Actually, you read this answer. Okay, you all look at your look at this screen and read this answer so that it will be familiar to you. Okay, so now wait.
See, why does the poet consider spring season is mischievous? Okay. See, answer. Just you read this. The spring season, due to its colors and vibrance and energy, brings out the child in the poet. The poet remains in a playful mood. Hence, the mischievous mood of the poet is attributed to the season. Okay.
See, I think that is clear to you. Spring is the mischief in me. Uh, Actually, spring season, right? It's a vibrance, okay? It's energy, okay? It's colorful feeling, okay? These qualities, right, make the poet, or that brings the child, that brings out the child in the poet. Actually, we all know these qualities, mischievous nature. There is this system, okay, this state of speaking. Okay, we generally attribute this quality to children, right? So children have this type of nature sometimes. Okay, while playing, we all have watched it, okay, or observed it. See, children, they have these types of playing. What actually they will construct or build something, and they will destroy it again. Okay, so a game like a playful mode, right? Earlier I think in the above stanza, see the poet's words, it is this mending wall or repairing, okay, this repairing, right? What actually for him, it was another kind of outdoor game. Okay, there was this line before, right? Another kind of outdoor game, like, see, so a game like, so a playful nature, all these things you have to keep in mind while reading this line. Spring is the mischief in me. So poet actually believes that there is no need of this wall here. Okay, so no need it. Okay, it is going to have existence because that happens. Okay, so it happens there. Okay, it will be destroyed again. But actually for the sake of his neighbor, he is there. Okay, he is there to he is there to mend. Okay, poet is there to mend the wall, right? So this actually makes, okay, him a playful feeling, right? So that is why he says spring is the mischief in me. Okay, but he is totally disturbed, like, okay, annoyed, like, why? He wanted to, he cannot actually approve of this word. Poet cannot actually approve of this word. So his total disturbance can be understood by reading these types of words here. Actually there are some questions, right? So that reveals poets or the speakers mental disturbances, right? Why do they make good neighbors? He actually wanted to get from his neighbor. Okay, why do they make good neighbors, right? Or where there are cows. So these questions, okay, his mental, okay, his mental, as I told you, his mental disturbances we can see, right? If there are cows, right, okay, that can be justifiable. Okay, just to protect his property with that of his right neighbor. Okay, that can be done. But he says there are no cows. Then what is the need of this wall here? So these types of questions. So before I built a wall, I would ask, no, what I was walling in or walling out. So walling in or walling out, here you just think what actually these two phrases, walling in or walling out. Poets mental, okay, disturbance, poets actually internal feelings, his thoughts here, actually his thoughts are revealed. See, walling in, both of them, actually poet and his neighbor, they are now engaged, they are now actually involved in repairing of, okay, this wall. So what actually walling in? He thinks, poet actually thinks, walling in, you just think that way, walling in, they are trying to actually create privacy. Okay, walling in, that means create privacy or a protection, like, okay, then they want to actually get their property protected. Okay, so that things actually his neighbor want to have. Then walling out, so by doing this act of repairing wall, actually they are destroying something, according to the poet. What actually they are destroying this brotherhood. Okay, then friendship, like that. Okay, because there comes a wall, a block, right? So these are certain feelings that actually come to poet's mind, walling in or walling out. So these thoughts, okay, that actually come to poet's mind. So that is what actually we get from these lines, right? Now next we will read, look at your textbook. See, and to whom I was like to give offense, something there is that doesn't love a word, that wants it down. See, poet even says that because of the reason of constructing this wall or repairing this wall, what actually poet thinks that he is actually doing an offense. He is doing an offense, like, okay, to whom he is doing this offense, to that something. See, that is something, when something is here, an unknown force. Okay, an unknown force which doesn't like this wall here. That is why it is destroyed. Got it? So to this something, I am doing an offense. Okay, so such feelings, such a thought actually comes to poet's mind. Okay, that unknown force. So I am doing an offense to this unknown force, right? Maybe I could say else. Next line. See, I could say else to him. Else, here else meaning spirits. Okay, spirits, right? Supernatural force. Maybe okay, because of this something, he is not sure what actually this something is. That is why maybe this something maybe else, right? So he continues, poet continues, right? What actually it is not else exactly. Again, he himself admits that there are no such else here, right? Then, and I would rather, right? He said it for himself. I see him there. Okay. Anyway, whatever or how many times, okay, poet explained all these types of things. Actually, there is no use at all. There is no use at all. There is no meaning. Okay, he could see. Poet says that I can see him there. What actually here point, even though poet wanted to justify or wanted to communicate his neighbor, giving or presenting all these types of things in order to make him clear that there is no need of this wall here. Okay, and nature itself doesn't like this wall. Okay, poet actually gave number of justifications like this. Okay, so whatever may be these types of justifications given by the poet, there is no use at all. Okay, there is no use. That means his neighbor is not going to change. Okay, here you have to think, poet is, okay, representing modern progressive mind, whereas his neighbor represents that is what type of feeling, age old or orthodox type of feeling. Okay, he is not ready to change. Who is not ready to change? His neighbor. Okay, poet represents modern views, and neighbor represents age old views. Okay, so that is actually the point discussed here. So I see him there. Let us read the other lines. Bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top. See, for repairing this word, he is very determined. Who is very determined? Neighbor is very determined. That is the reason he firmly grasp. Okay, grasp, holds, right? All these stones he hold, or he takes actually all these things in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. Here there is a simile, right? Like actually poet feels that in this situation his neighbor is compared to an old stone savage. Old stone savage, actually uncivilized one. Okay, so lived in the olden time or ancient period. Okay, so these words actually we get this picture. Poet compared his neighbor to an uncivilized one, lived in the ancient world. That means he is not ready to change. He always sticks to his old feeling. Got it? So that is what actually the point here. So just you note this simile, right? Comparison. He moves in darkness. He continues. He moves in darkness. Moves in darkness here meaning he is illiterate. Okay, he is illiterate. Who is illiterate? His neighbor is illiterate. Okay, so that is what actually here meaning moves in darkness as it seems to me. Poet's feeling. Okay, not of woods only and the shade of trees. right? See, just this image you just point out, you just keep it up, okay, right? Not of woods only and the shade of trees, okay. So actually a poet wanted to communicate us that this is actually not actually the shades of trees. The neighbor moves in darkness, meaning actually that situation is revealed by this line, okay. Shade of trees, okay, you all know darkness, okay. But actually this image actually, in order to make emphasis, what point here, the neighbor is illiterate, okay, not ready to change. He moves in darkness, that's the meaning, okay. He will not go behind his father's saying. He will not go behind his father's saying. And actually last two lines, and he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, good fences make good neighbors. So these lines, once again, we have to feel, or we have to think that poets assert, okay, poet actually asserts that, poet speaks very firmly that his neighbor is not ready to change. He always wanted to follow his father's, okay, or his people, ancestors, okay, his ancestors feeling. He is not ready to change according to the modern concept. Got it? So this is what actually the poet wanted to speak. So he wanted to, his neighbor wanted to speak. He wanted to believe that, okay, he wanted to keep this age old wise saying. What is that? Good fences make good neighbors, okay. So I think you understood. This is what actually this poem, right? So poet's view and his neighbor's view, okay. These views we can actually keep in our memory with these two lines. What actually poet's view? Poet doesn't like this word. That is why this line you can keep. What actually the poem's beginning line, something, okay, something there is that doesn't love a word. Got it? And poet's neighbor's thought, feeling, what actually, that is this line, good fences make good neighbors. So these two lines actually contradiction, okay. So that is why we just concluded, or we just mentioned that this poem is framed on this style of argument and counter argument, because both of these people having different views. Got it? So I think you understood. Now we have to complete the rest of the questions. So we discuss the questions. Let's speak about the poetic devices used by the poet Robert Frost in this poem, Mending. See, this poem is symbolic, right? The wall itself is symbolic. Here, this wall represents man-made barriers, okay. Certain rules, restrictions we see here in our world, okay. So these man-made barriers, okay, by the name of religion, caste, color, etc., people are separated, okay. So that actually divides people each other. Got it? So this is what actually the symbolic picture of this term, or this use of word, okay. Now we can also see personification. See, something, the use of something. Actually the poet begins this way: something there is that doesn't love a world, okay. And something destroys the world. So something actually that destroys the world. So that quality of human, okay, that destroys. So a particular person's quality, right, that destroys something. So that something is that something is a type of personification, right? Then see, full of assonance. What actually the meaning of assonance? You all studied it. Assonance means repetition of vowel sounds. Okay, so just reading this line, something there is that doesn't love a word, doesn't love. There is a sound repeated, doesn't love what. So that is repetition of vowel sound, that is called assonance. So you can see some other examples while reading this poem. Then also we can see right, actually these types of imageries, okay, situations, number of images that plot, yeah, my apple trees, then actually pine trees, etc. Number of imageries, okay, we can see, right. Then there is again another type of yeah, personification. Apple trees will never get across. Apple trees will never get across lake. So that feeling, that is also another example for personification. And I am apple orchard. I am apple orchard. That is again another an example for metaphorically used. I am apple. Okay. Then again we can see simile. Okay, this a place where a poet compared his neighbor to savaged, yeah, old stone savage, armed like an old stone savage armed. So the word like, that is very easy for you to find out. So that is example. Okay, now this is blank verse. So actual blank verse means it is not keeping a regular rhyme scheme. Okay, so just that is all for you to understand about this poetic devices or figures of speech. Okay, now just you answer all these questions, right. We completed around 5 questions. Okay, now we have 2 more questions remaining in this session of think and write. What actually the first question, yeah, in your textbook, think and write session, 6th one. First one, why does the poet consider the spring season mischievous? Okay, so beginning, the stanzas begin, spring is mischief in me, right? So I think answer is clear to you because when we discussed, okay, this meaning, I gave you sample note. Okay, so just you read and just you try to write this answer in your English notebook. Then last question, what are the contrasting views presented in the poem? What are the contrasting views? Contrast, okay, having differences, contrast. Okay, so very simple. I think you all right, remember what actually we discussed in this poem, right. Anyway, these 2 lines, which 2 lines? Something there is that doesn't love a war, and good fences make good neighbors. These 2 lines actually give you these contrasting views. Okay, so for the time being, actually you read this sample note. Okay, so what actually this contrasting views, right? Now all these questions, we have completed all these questions. Okay, now we have to move to the activities part, right? So we will discuss this activities part in the coming sessions, right? Now that's all. Thank you.